So I too want to thank everybody on the panel. It was a great panel, and I'm glad to see that agents were very interested in that, because as I said, with my background and coming over to the other side of the desk and looking at blank faces on the other side has really been quite surprising to me. And so my presentation almost goes with how Pam, she closed. I'm not going to sit here and tell you about how great our product is. We all heard up there that our products are all pretty much the same. This is a great, sexy side of the business, as we heard. But it is a huge revenue opportunity, and one that I think that a lot of agents still to this day are missing. And I call it the $86 million opportunity. So where did we come up with that? Did we skip one? Okay. Well, maybe we didn't. All right. So we heard some of this on the panel. Doesn't some of this sound familiar? I'm not an insurance expert. That's what those questions really brought out to us. There are too many options. Again, a lot of the questions focused on that. What if I sell a policy that doesn't cover my clients? That was that article that we heard about. So all these things. And travel insurance is confusing. I can tell you that from firsthand experience. I've learned more in the last 6 months as an insurance rep than I knew in 20 years as a travel agent. Different policies you could sell and just all the stuff. I wrote down notes tonight because there's still things that you can always learn about travel insurance. Okay. So the almighty dollar. So I said there's $86 million out there, and right now, if you look at insurance sales from travel agencies for third party, they're flat. They haven't really grown much over the last 3 years. But Tour Supplier has grown and continues to grow. And it's you can see it's a 2-to-1. And so we went out and we ran some numbers on running third-party insurance. This isn't just me. This is everybody that was at this panel tonight, okay? That if you just sold one extra policy a month for a year, you'd make about $700 more in commission, okay? If that's in a supplier insurance, that number's going to drop to about $70, okay? Remember that we pay a lot more commission than the supplier does, if the supplier gives you any. If you sold two, then you would make about $1,400. And with 3 agents and one extra policy per agent per month, $2,100. So you see there's a lot of revenue that we're leaving on the table as agents. And it goes back to what I said about, are you asking? Make sure that you ask. And so we took the average loss on commissions and came up with our $86 million in lost revenues. And as I mentioned up there, I gave away a little bit of this when I was on the panel. But if you don't ask yourself about buying travel insurance for your own trips, then it's hard for you to ask about other people to do it. And all our buying habits affect your selling. And I got a great story about this. When I started in the travel industry, I had a fear of selling sandals. Not because it was yellow, pink, and purple, and green, and bright, but I couldn't relate. I was 20-something and getting started in the travel industry. And, people would say, oh, we want to go to sandals. And I'd be looking at these prices of $5,700 a person or $6,000 a person. I'm thinking, geez, that's half my salary for this year. I was starting as a travel agent, so you guys know I'm not lying here. It might have been my whole salary, but, so my habit kept me from selling sandals because I just couldn't relate to spending $14,000 on a vacation. I just couldn't relate. I was driving a 73 Celica Supra or something like that, so I just couldn't relate. Our own habits sometimes get in the way of what we're trying to do on the selling side. Now, it's great to land in LA now, and I see Air Tahiti Nui taking off, and I'm like, hey, I've been to Bora Bora. I know where that flight's going. And so now you can sell it because you've done it, you've experienced it, and you've gotten through some of those habits. But it's the same thing when you're trying to sell travel insurance. And so if you like to shop around, then you're going to understand why your client wants to shop around. If you are compulsive and you want to make a quick decision, man, those are our favorite clients, aren't they? The ones say, I want it, just do it right now. Don't talk to me about it anymore. You might talk me out of it, right? And so, but we buy on value and not on price. So we have a lot of different habits that affect our selling that are mostly our own personal habit that we're trying to bring into the selling process. And heck, you got to have enthusiasm. And if you're a little tentative, that's going to affect it as well. So, tips to overcome some of those personal buying habits. And these are agency tips for selling travel insurance. And one of them is, some of the questions that you ask of why even people calling you to book their trips. So are they referral? What attracted you to your customer to you to come to you in the first place? Remember, they're coming to you most of the time because they're a referral and you're an expert. Okay? You guys are experts. It's being written over every newspaper and every TV. There are tons of things right now about the way the consumer is coming back to the travel agent. And that's awesome. That's what we've been wanting for years and years and years. Okay? So you're the expert. So as I said before on the panel, you gotta ask. And that's why if you have to develop a system where you, for every sale, are gonna ask for travel insurance or include the price for travel insurance, but you gotta get into the habit. As we all know, if we try something once or twice and it doesn't work, we go right back to what we did before. I always say one of the coolest things is when you go to, everybody's in a different consortium, right? They're not all in ensemble and wishes, but you know what? How do you feel when you come back from your consortium thing? You feel great. You feel great. You're like, we're going to tear up the world. I was a vacation.com member. I would come back, I saw Stuart Cohn, I saw these guys, and I'd be like, whew, man, I tell you what, we're going from 4 million to 20 million in a week and a half. I was so excited, and then what happened? We get busy. You get busy, one of my kids gets sick or has to go on a camp out, and then I'm hiking through the woods in Colorado going, what happened to going from 4 million to 20 million? Now I'm having to jump over a creek or something. Say, you get back into your old habits, and guess what? Then the next year, I go back to the vacation.com conference. I'm at 3.5 million. I went completely the opposite way of what I was supposed to do, right? So, you have to break those habits and come back with something that will make you continue to do that over and over and over again and develop a system. So create a system for every sale. I know it sounds pretty basic, but again, it goes back to the basic thing that you can do in your agency, and that is ask. And so you can go in there and ask. You ask for referrals. You ask other people to suggest using you. Guess what? They ask you, what's the best port? What's the best shore excursion I can do? Be the professional. Be the expert. Ask them for the insurance sale. So we also hear this all the time. I'm sure my colleagues would agree, and I've heard it a lot in 6 months. I heard it this morning. It's just easier to click the box on the supplier insurance. I'm like, really? You get 10% maybe. It's just easier. And we all know in this room, that the coverage is not nearly as good. Okay? For anybody up here, I would, if I was a consumer, I'd want anyone's up here besides the supplier insurance. So we went out, we did a survey with our top 50 accounts. And so we said, what are you guys doing that is making you successful in selling travel insurance? And so this is very interesting. 100% recommend a specific policy. Remember earlier up on the screen, we had on there, it's confusing. There's too many products. Focus on a product. Focus on one or two products that a company has and focus on it, because that's what these guys do. They recommend a specific policy and saying, well, here's the quote for this policy, here's the quote for that policy, and here's the quote for this policy. Okay? Get rid of the confusion. You don't usually do that if they say, well, we want a cruise, and I'm going to give you 3 different or 4 different cruise lines. Okay? Complete the booking for the client. So you do it. Remember, we were asking some questions earlier. Do you have your client call or do you call? You know, you're the expert. I love the waiver form. What a great fear factor that is. You know, give them that waiver form, and when they have to sign, it's like when I joined the Navy. I did join, so I did finish the signature. But you know, you have to get that signature so that people are thinking twice about what they're doing. Include in the price quote. I can't believe agents aren't doing this more. You should always include it in the price quote. And I'm trying to go fast because usually I'm right before lunch, and I know how hard that is. Now I'm before cocktails. Include in trip qualification discussion. So the first time that a person calls, tell them, you know what, we include travel insurance in our prices. Tell them right then. And then as you see the percentages go down on our survey. Handling the price objection. I think I've got one more slide. So you may hear this occasionally. And I didn't actually realize it, how much you would hear, well, you know, the supplier insurance is half the price of the third-party insurance. So that's when you have to take that time, extra couple minutes, to educate the client on what is actually being covered in your coverage rather than the supplier insurance. Including it in the price quote eliminates the price objection. So if you include it in the quote right up front, you know, they're going to say, oh, that includes the insurance? Great. And so you'll get less questions that way. Using the reference to personal health insurance or Medicare, so we discussed that on the panel quite a bit. And of course, the great old story of bringing up the volcanoes or the natural disasters or any, what did I just hear? There's 14 evacuations going on a day. So there's always something going on in this great world of ours. So with that being said, I said I would go fast to keep you, let you go home. But at Travel Insured, as I said up on the panel when I was asked, what makes our company unique? I think that's what keeps us unique, is that we're focused on the travel professional to try and help you grow your business and your revenues. I've been through the ups and downs in the last 15 years as an agency owner, and I know how many times I wish I went back that my agents would have had that extra $1,200 of revenue a month coming in. And whether your agency is doing an incentive program or anything, just think of the peace of mind that it gives you, and it gives your client and you. And you just go back to that joke about when they sit at your desk and they say nothing's going to happen. We all know those are the people. They could be 22 years old and something is going to happen to them. So thank you very much and have a great night.